Kitco Mining's special coverage of the Deutsche Goldmesse is brought to you by Frotet Copper.
Major miner Sumitomo has a 10% stake in Kenorland Minerals. The CEO is Zach Flood. Zach, thanks for doing this.
Thank you, Michael.
Tell us the focus of Kenorland Minerals.
Yeah, so Kenorland is a bit of a unique company. We focus on project generation, really kind of early stage exploration in North America. We're generating large scale greenfields projects, and our focus is really to try to kind of attract the major mining companies in to fund that exploration and ideally make new discoveries. So that's what we've been doing for the last number of years. We made a pretty significant gold discovery in northern Quebec that is now held under joint venture with Sumitomo Metal Mining. I think that was a good kind of proof of concept to go out and try to find something new, and our goal is to kind of repeat that success somewhere else on one of our other projects in North America.
Now, there's a real size to what you're doing here. You have 1 million hectares that you have, and also you're telling me you're managing about $20 to $30 million exploration budget.
Yeah, this year was about $23 million in early stage exploration. Next year, we're probably going to see similar budgets. Most of that, I'd say 90% of that is funded through our partners. I think that's a really important point to make. Again, this project generation model is the main goal is to try to advance a lot of early stage exploration at the same time. So as you mentioned, we actually have 1.3 million hectares of ground that we have exposure to, 11 active projects. There's 3 projects that are held under joint venture, 5 under earn-in with other kind of majors funding that. So
now, Zach helped me out when I was looking through the corporate presentation. Maybe you can explain a bit more about how these various deals work. So you had buckets, you had farm outs, you had equity royalty generation and sole funded exploration. Maybe first start with the farm outs.
Yeah, so the focus being early stage greenfields exploration. The farm outs generally are large scale greenfields initiatives. So big properties, we're trying to roll out large systematic geochemical surveys on these, typically focused in glaciated terrains like northern Canada. For those projects specifically, we try to partner with other major mining companies, because typically these projects are 2 or 3 years before you get to a drill target. Millions of dollars of exploration just to get to that target, right? So it's not really a game a lot of juniors like to play. So typically we've had more success partnering with majors on those. The other kind of silo there that you mentioned, the equity and royalty generation, those typically are projects that are more well suited for a junior to kind of move forward. They might not fit the box of a major or tick all the boxes that a major needs or requires to go after the early stage exploration. And with those deals, we're typically trying to vend out the project 100% and retain exposure through equity in the junior and a royalty as well. And the last one you mentioned there, sole funded. I mean, of course, we do fund our own exploration as well. We'll stake projects, we'll carry out early stage surveys as well to try to advance them along. But that's kind of the 3 kind of strategies that we have under Kenorland.
What would be a project where it would veer into, say, it would be more suitable for the equity royalties, so than a small junior that would be doing, as opposed to it would be like where you do the farm out, and it would be, help me out, Zach, but I think some of the companies I saw there was like a Sumitomo and Centerra, I think were one of those. Where would a project slide between one or the other?
For instance, one of our largest equity positions is in a lithium explorer, Lift Power. And again, the lithium space is relatively small compared to, say, the gold space or the copper space. There's not a lot of majors there to actually even go talk to. So that was one example, where we staked a big land package in James Bay that was prospective for lithium, and we spoke to another junior and vended that project virtually 100% for a 10% equity stake in that, and a 2% royalty as well. And now that's become one of our largest equity positions as well. So that's a good example of where the project again was just more suited to a junior as opposed to a major mining company.
How are you funded right now?
We've got over 10 million in working capital right now, so we're pretty well funded. We just completed a financing towards the end of September at 70 cents per share. So, and again, our business model, relies on a lot of partner-funded exploration. So we don't foresee a huge sole-funded component next year as well. So I don't anticipate there's going to be a need for another capital raise in the near future. So well-funded, I guess you could.
And what's work that you're doing? What are you concentrating on for your sole-funded exploration, and what do you plan there?
Yeah, so we do have to participate in the joint venture at the Frotet project, which is probably one of our more advanced projects. That's under joint venture with Sumitomo Metal Mining. So there will be probably 1.3 million that we're committing to that early next year in the first quarter. We have a 25,000 meter drill program that's going to be kind of underway starting in January. Otherwise, most of the sole funded exploration would be focused on acquiring new mineral tenures, staking, maybe a couple smaller early stage surveys, but nothing major in terms of other sole funded exploration.
Critical metals are coming to the fore. You mentioned lift with lithium. How has that changed the model of that, what you're doing at Kenorland?
Yeah, it's definitely changed our commodity focus. We've entered into Manitoba in a big way in search for nickel, and in the southern Thompson Nickel Belt or the Fox River Belt, some other areas as well in Manitoba. So I think nickel for us, it's not a new thing. We've been looking at Manitoba for probably 3 or 4 years now, but we've really started to move on it there and acquire mineral tenure specifically focused in the nickel space. So, and lithium as well. There have been other projects that we've generated focused on lithium in the recent years too. So, we have a lot of gold exposure with the majors, as you mentioned. We're working with a number of companies like Newmont, Barrick, Centerra, Sumitomo. That's all gold focused. We do have a project in Alaska as well. It's being funded by Antofagasta. That's a copper project, so that gives us some copper exposure. But certainly, there's been a bit of a shift internally from gold to base metals or critical metals.
Kenorland is a focus on Canada?
North America, yeah. So okay. Canada and Alaska.
Yeah.
But we're not really looking outside of those jurisdictions.
Is there any other companies that are similar to yours in other jurisdictions?
Yeah, there's definitely other project generation companies out there. But I'd say in North America, we're certainly probably one of the most active.
Mm-hmm. Lastly, Zach, what would be some of the milestones over the next 12 months?
The big one's going to be the drill program in the first quarter next year at the Frotet project with Sumitomo. We've got about 25,000 meters planned there. There'll be 4 rigs out, drilling up there in northern Quebec starting in January. That's certainly going to be probably the most, exciting program that we can see in the near future. And then we'll see what happens up in Alaska next summer. With Antofagasta, we've collected a huge amount of data this summer, which will lead towards drill targeting, and ideally we see another big drill program up there as well.
Zach, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Michael. Appreciate it.
My name is Michael McRae with Kitco Mining here at Deutsche Goldmesse in Frankfurt.
Kitco Mining's special coverage of the Deutsche Goldmesse is brought to you by Faraday Copper.